Welcome back to the world of Eve Pacific. I'm your accountability buddy, No Woods. I hope we're all doing well today because we have a special treat for you. A brand new avenue of approach to fitness and exercise, indoor climbing. We're going to be visiting with my friend Jason Tucker, who's an avid indoor climber, and he is going to give us the ups and downs of indoor climbing. I hope you're excited. I am. But before we get started, I want to announce that Eve Pacific has partnered up with HealthyWage, an avenue of approach to losing weight and getting paid for it. Uh, look down in our comments and find the link and check it out. Wouldn't you like to get paid to lose weight? Whew. Without further ado, let's get to Jason, the climber.
Soundstripe.
Here he is, Mr. Jason Tucker, the climber, the
Climber.
yes, the climber. And it is such a treat that we get to actually join him in the setting that he's going to be describing his passion in, and that's in a climbing gym. First, before we dive into too much, please tell us why you're there.
Yeah, I'm here with my daughter Josie. She's 10, and we started this whole climbing thing because I wanted to find something that she and I could do together. Oh, there she is. Say hi, Jojo. And something that we could do together as father and daughter. And so um, I gave her the option of either Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which I had done a while ago, or climbing. And she chose rock climbing. So here we are. So she's got her climbing practice later on with the after school team. And that's why we're here. So
Okay, to all you parents out there, this is another alternative to karate, jujitsu, line dancing. Now we have climbing at 10. So first and foremost, let me say that Jason and I, we met at our church. I was on a board of directors, and he is the guy in charge of giving. So we've spent a couple of years interacting in a formal and private setting, and I just love this guy to death. Um, Go ahead, Jason. Give a little bit about your background, where you're from. Tell us about your
yeah.
family.
Well, I grew up here in San Diego, born and raised San Diego. So I grew up in East County, San Diego, and so we let's see. I was always growing up. I was always active in sports, doing a bunch of stuff. So I played softball because I was always the smallest kid in the class. So my mom put me in softball instead of baseball. But I did softball, baseball, a little bit of soccer, football, rode my bike everywhere. Just kind of as a kid, I just rode my bike all over town and from point A to point B. And so yeah, I've always been really active. I played tennis in high school, did some Olympic weightlifting in high school. So was always really active growing up. And then college and get your first real job and like to spend money going out to eat. So I kind of got real sedentary after high school and college, and um, probably around 20 age 25 26 or so. I'm 5'6", so I'm pretty short, and I was 5'6" and got up to like 208 210 pounds or so. And so I walked into a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym and I said, yo, I'm 5'6", 210 pounds, we got to change this. And they're like, all right, let's sign up. So did that for a couple years and ended up really enjoying it. Lost like 50, 60 pounds in a year.
Wow.
Really just doing jujitsu and eating a little better. But in your 20s, it's a little easier to do that type of thing. So, and then life and relationships happen, and um, got to COVID and was um, ended up about in that same spot. And so I've kind of gone down and back up. I know what it takes to lose it, but I turned 40 in a couple months. And so things have gone down a little more slowly than they did in the past. But so I, realized we're kind of doing some sedentary stuff, and decided to be a little more active with my daughter. And here we are, and climbing's a ton of fun.
It's amazing. So here's another connection. You and your mom and I served on a board together,
Yeah,
but your daughter Josie and my oldest daughter is Josie.
that's
Josie.
right. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
um, so here we like my weight has yo-yoed, and I've shared with our teammates here that I have ballooned and shrunk a couple of times, went through
Yeah.
two body transformations. And yes, COVID changed my life
Yeah.
when it came to my activity. Actually, I got outside more often because no one was out there.
Right.
But it's amazing how you've turned to an indoor climbing sport when
Yeah.
jujitsu was your first avenue of approach to get the body in motion. And that's what this community is all about.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, just as long as you're keeping the body in motion and trying to live a healthy lifestyle. And I would have always thought you were 5'7" or 5'8". I
My therapist tells me I should give myself 5'7".
exactly. I need your therapist.
Right.
So so here we are. You had shared earlier that you spend a lot of time at this climbing gym,
Yeah.
and I find that with a lot of the people that I interact with, when you have a passion, you end up like a good part of your life starts revolving around that place, right?
Yeah.
Like your daughter is there, and then I'm pretty sure you got your time to climb.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of synonymous with the previous interviewees, right? They have all had um, these active lifestyles early on. The bike riders, the runner, they
Yeah.
get to high school, they've had these high school athletics, and even some have been, excelling at collegiate. But it
Right.
comes to a point where living stops and working and paying bills
Yeah.
turns us around, and we get into that lifestyle because
Yeah.
we're cubicle uh, uh, people by nature in the workforce. Tell me now, once you started climbing,
Yeah.
what hooked you? What hooked
So
you?
yeah. So for me, it's what growing up doing sports, like I loved, one of the things I really loved growing up was like Olympic weightlifting. Just training, lifting weight, like I liked that. It was a lot of fun. And that was just really great for me. And then as I got older, I realized that like I couldn't spend just like 2 hours in a gym just doing stuff so that I could get in shape, like just lifting or just doing cardio. For me, I was like, man, there's so many other things I need to do with my time or could be doing with my time. So for me, if there's a mental aspect to it, if it's something that keeps me interested, I also have ADHD, and so that mental part, like if it's not something that my brain needs to sink into, um, then I'm just like nah. And so for me with climbing, there a lot of it's mental, with technique. And they call bouldering, which you see behind me. There's people climbing that they don't have ropes. Walls are about 15 feet tall, and there's pads on the bottom. Bouldering is climbing without ropes, basically. So if you went up to like a rock in the park and went to climb it, bouldering. And so for me, when I started bouldering, they call them problems actually. So it's a boulder problem, and so you got to figure it out. And so
All of it, huh?
yeah, and you see all the different color holes behind me, and each one of those is like a little route that you have to try and stay on that color route. And so out in the wild on rocks outside, there's little holds that are part of the route, and you got to find those and figure out how to move your body in the right way or use the right technique. And so here at this gym at Mesa Rim in San Diego, they change up each section of boulders. They're changing a new one every couple weeks. So basically, the things that are just behind me, they just put those up last week. And there's a whole other section of wall that they have completely different routes every few weeks. So the whole wall, this whole area gets reset and changed up every, 2 months or so. So there's always something new. There's always something new. Outside in the wild, a rock is a rock, and the root's the same root forever, pretty much, unless something gets broken off it. But here in the gym, they have the ability to put new holds on, take them off, and do new problems, new routes. And so for me, that's a huge mental stimulation, because it's like, one, there's always something new and different to try, and two, there's some pressure too, because if you're like trying to figure this thing out and it's taking you a few weeks, you're like, oh God, I better do this before they take it down and put a new one up, right? So it builds in a little pressure, and it's just a lot of fun, and it's I did a lot of like racket sports and baseball and stuff like that, and it's all like one side of the body, and your dominant side is really the thing that does that. But climbing, you have to be able to reach with both hands, use both feet. It's all bilateral. So it's not like you just use your dominant hand to reach for this thing. Like you gotta do both. So that's been a good like brain thing for my body. If you're in baseball and you're like swinging or you're throwing, like you have a dominant side, and that's just the side that gets worked. Or like I played tennis and squash a bit. So like I hit my racket, I don't switch hands to do that. So for me, climbing is like another brain exercise to like have my body move in space in a whole different way.
Wow. Okay, so we had a microbiologist on a couple of weeks ago, and now another very cerebral climber. So I know you noticed my mouth gaping a lot, because I knew zero about climbing.
Yeah.
Back when I was in the Marine Corps, I think I've rappelled twice off a 50-foot tower, right? So the first thing that I thought that we'd be talking about is on belay, on rappel.
Yeah.
This is it. But bouldering shoots out of your mouth, and then I got to throw away the next 14 questions that I have.
Well, no, but check this out. At the gym, there's a whole nother wall that's like 60 feet tall that you got to, climb up, belay, put the ropes on and stuff. And so a lot of climbing gyms, a lot of them, they'll maybe only focus on bouldering, but a lot of them also have bouldering and like top rope or lead climbing, which is with the ropes, and you go up a lot higher. So Mesa Rim here in San Diego has both. There's quite a few other gyms in San Diego that do both. There's also quite a few gyms in San Diego that just do bouldering. I mean, if you think about it, as a business proposition, like finding
it's easier.
Like finding a building that has like 20-foot ceilings is way easier than finding a building that has like 60-foot ceilings.
Especially in San Diego. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's a little bit of both, and the sport's huge. Outdoors, you can climb on ropes, you can climb bouldering. I haven't done a ton of outdoor climbing yet, but I'm working up to it. San Diego and Southern California have a lot of good outdoor climbing spots, Mission Gorge, Santee Boulders, and your neck of the woods, and places all around, up to Yosemite is like Mecca for climbing. So there's all kinds of outdoor climbing too. But for me, indoors my speed right now, and it's a place to get fit. When I started, I could go maybe like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and it was like so hard just to get up like the most beginner climb, and I was like gassed after the first like 15 feet, and I was like, okay. So I just like went 20-30 minutes at a time, and now I can climb some more advanced stuff, and I've gotten stronger since maybe August. So about 6 or 8 months, I've lost about 25 pounds. Still got some ways to go, but a lot of it was diet. I'm trying to work better. Stop drinking alcohol completely. I cut that out of my diet, and that's been helpful in a million ways, as you know. And
a lot of people don't really get the caloric intake with alcohol, right?
Yeah, and it's not even just the drinking. It's also like when I have a few drinks, I'm like, oh yeah, it's midnight and that pizza sounds awesome, and I'll like crush a frozen pizza at midnight after a few beers, and then it just like compounds, Right. And then I sleep for half the next day because I don't feel good.
I'm not working out.
Right. Like you got all these carbs and then they just sit there. So yeah, trying to eat a little better, cutting alcohol out, and I'm pushing 40. So like my big thing is like trying not to get injured. Um,
That was one of my big questions, right?
yeah,
So what would I know that, this is a, a true full body workout, right?
yeah, yeah.
Or, the arms, legs, and what are the most common climbing injuries?
Good call. So the most climbing injuries that you see, especially with new people that get really psyched on it, are fingers. Because if you think about your fingers and your hands, the tendons and the muscles don't really respond and get like totally pumped up and jacked like you
Right.
can get these large muscle groups. And so the tendons and everything and the connective tissue in your hands and fingers, they're pretty delicate and it takes them a long time to adjust. So a lot of people get like finger and hand injuries because you're trying to pull your whole weight. And sometimes you have a hold that is just like 1 or 2 pads thick, and you're trying to pull your whole weight off of that thing. So some people get really, really excited before, and they try and just go crazy on it before building up their finger strength, and that takes longer to do. Also shoulders, because if you're a little overhang or twisted or something, the shoulder's just such a goofy joint that climbing really has you work that joint at like the maximum of the range of motion under high stress and high strength.
Yes.
So you have
Yes.
like a really high load on a kind of wonky joint. It's so complex and there's all these little pieces and in a high load in a weird position, depending on what you're doing. So a lot of like um, shoulder and hand problems, and some people I get like tennis elbow type of things.
That's what I was gonna ask. Elbow as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
And
and the trick, I mean, the trick
toward
is
it,
what they
right?
tell you. Yeah, and what they tell you when you start climbing is to use your feet more than your hands, and
Really?
and it seems crazy because you're there and you're like, yeah, we got to get up the wall. But if you think about climbing a ladder, how do you climb a ladder? You don't do a pull up on every rung and then bring your feet up. Your hands are just there to hold on the ladder so you don't fall, and your feet are doing all the work to push you up.
Wow.
So if you put that same concept into climbing, you want to try and use your hands to just hold on to the wall, and your feet are what's pushing you up. And so, but it's way easier said than done. It's not like uh, you know, and footwork is really like the
Footing.
biggest thing, the
Okay.
biggest technique piece that can put you into different levels of climbing. That can really build your skills or really kind of level you up. Is really the biggest thing is footwork. Is
Really? Now,
yeah.
now you said like are there different climbing styles or
There
to
there's
level
there's
up?
some yeah
Okay.
there's some stylistic type things, but it's also there's just different techniques. If you climb up a ladder and your hands and your shoulders are square to the wall, that's square climbing. But sometimes you need to move your hips so your hip is sideways in the wall, and it's a lot of it is moving your hips so that you have balance, so that you're in a spot of balance before you reach to the next thing. So it's really fascinating how much it's about hips and body movement. So my partner Sarah, she's a modern dancer, and like some of the things I was like, oh, this technique, this thing, that thing, like here's how you put your foot out. Like she just does that naturally because she's so used to shifting her body and shifting her center of balance, and so she moves amazingly on the wall. It's just so cool to watch her because she's a dancer and she's so graceful when she climbs. And I'm just kind of like and brute force up there. But it's yeah, it's a ton of fun, and there's all kinds of different styles, different ways to climb. And I like doing the bouldering because if you look, there's maybe like five to six moves to get from the bottom to the top of the wall. You got, and that's not too bad. But if you do these top rope things that are like 60 feet high, you might be doing like 20-30 moves. So I'm more of like a sprinter type person and not a distance person. So I get tired on those, like the long climbs,
Longer
because I'm like,
climbs?
yeah. So and even when I was younger and running and doing stuff like that, like cross country, never, but sprinting and like running fast and running hard, like that was what I was all about. So bouldering's kind of like the sprinter version of climbing, and top rope and rope climbing is a little more endurance oriented.
So let me get this right. Now, if I tomorrow said, okay, I want to get into climbing.
Yeah.
First and foremost, if I'm starting out bouldering or top climbing, which would be easier for me?
So yeah, this is a funny question because we bring friends out to go climbing a lot. A lot of times their first time. Um, Bouldering is more simple because there's like no ropes and harnesses and all that junk. Like you put your shoes on, maybe get some chalk in your hands, and then you like climb the rock. Um, but you know, if you do have to fall from 15 feet or climb back down when you finish, and so that freaks people out sometimes. Whereas the rope, if you're connected and we have you connected in the rope and you fall off, you fall like this much or like, you know, that much, and the rope just holds you and you're like, oh, that's no big deal. So um, so bouldering's simpler to get into. Um, and if you have a fear of heights, that can be something that's easier for people to kind of dip their toe in, and you can, you know, you can climb up to the top and climb back down and you can be all right. But also some people are worried about like knees and hips and ankles, or you know, knees and ankles, especially if you're a little bit on the bigger side. You know, if you jump, you know, a 10-foot jump down,
Like me.
even though there's pads, you know, the pads are like 18 inches thick, so it's not
So
like this
if you
little foam
do
mattress.
fall,
You're
okay.
fine.
So
You'll be protected, but you could still twist a knee or things like that. So safe the safer thing is when you do top roping, when you're on the ropes, you just get lowered down, and you do, there's always a little bit of risk, there's always a little bit of danger. Disclaimer, like if somebody does something wrong, there's risk in climbing, right? um, but if you're doing it safely, if you're with someone who's experienced, listen to what the people at the gym teach you and follow those regulations and everything. Doing top ropes in a gym is really safe. And you know, if you fall off, you just fall, you know, a couple inches as the rope stretches a bit, and that's it. And then you get lowered down when you're done. Um, so, and that can go nice and slow, and you just get lowered down. So there's no like knee or ankle, not real danger if you're like dropping, you know. So I started out bouldering because I came by myself, and there's always cool people hanging around that will like help you out, especially if you're new. Um,
that's what I was
everyone,
going to ask. Do you have to
yeah,
take a class for safety, or do you just come in, pay your money, and then hop on a wall?
yeah, very good question. So at Mesa Rim, some gyms say like, okay, if you have your harness and you clip into this thing, you're good to go. Mesa Rim makes people pass a belay certification, and so they offer classes for folks because that's the biggest safety thing. They also offer like free introduction to climbing classes, um, and and so if you know, you can pay your day pass, it's like $20 or something, and they have, you know, intro classes a couple times a week. They also have like a self-guided like QR code, like, hey, this station is where you learn the different types of holds, and there's a little video, things like that. So they make it really, really easy, really cool. But yeah, you literally can, for bouldering, you can just get on and start climbing. But if you look lost, a lot of times people will help you out and say, hey, is your first time here? Like, here's how this works. And that's what I found that's been really awesome about climbing too, is the community, the
Right?
people. And when you're on the ropes, like you can't do it by yourself, basically. Like
Right.
you need someone to be at the other end of the rope to hold you. So so you need to build community, and a lot, and there's all the times you'll probably hear it when we're in our interview, but they're like, hey, if anybody needs a belay partner, like come on down to the front desk and you just meet new people. And
Oh, okay.
because
So
sometimes if you come by yourself and you have all your gear but your partner bails on you, like you don't want to
and
just
that'll
not
happen.
climb. Yeah. And so so yeah, it's really cool. People are cool, and it's really egalitarian, I'll say that. Like um I've been around plenty of gyms, like, you know, I've been around plenty of gyms, and this like, and at least in my experience here at these gyms, in these three particular gyms that Mesa Rim has in San Diego, um, there's not nearly the amount of like bro culture and like gym bro a-hole stuff that goes on in some other gyms. And I've
So
been
this is the
really
Planet
excited about that.
Fitness of climbing.
Right. It's chill. Like, and the and the funny thing is because you can't be that toxically masculine and be like, yeah, good job, like I'll climb that thing, it was awesome. And because there'll be 100-pound woman that is strong and she'll just do the thing right after you, and you're like, oh, okay, or like, one of the kids in the kids
One of the
class will
kids
just,
come up and
yeah, I'm
sprint
like
on up.
struggling on this stuff and these kids just cruise right up it. I'm like, oh, okay. So it's really cool that way about like how egalitarian it is. And there's definitely, I think every sport and culture has problems, with culture and toxic masculinity and not being welcoming. But here in this gym, my experience has been super welcoming.
That is
And
awesome.
yeah, it's been really great. And and people in other gyms and other places probably have different experiences. Um, but here it's been pretty cool, and everyone's been pretty welcoming and willing to help out and just excited to
So
help people learn. Yeah.
that brings me to the question, right? So you pay $20 for a day pass. Are there
Yeah.
any special shoes that you like use for climbing? Is it
Yeah.
something like you have
Yeah.
a
Shoes are important
preference?
because, and since I'm here at the gym, I have some shoes. So climbing shoes, if you look at like the bottom of them, it's
Uh-huh.
flat rubber, but it's like soft rubber. And
Grip?
so, yeah, so this helps you grip and get as much surface area as possible on the holds and the rocks, because some of them are like teeny tiny that you got to step on. But pretty much every gym has rental shoes, and
Uh-huh.
so you can
Like
rent some shoes. Yeah, exactly. So you can get some rental shoes if you want to start up. So bouldering is the easiest to start because you need, at the climbing gym, you need a pair of shoes and like a chalk bag and some chalk, and then you're ready to go.
they have chalk there already?
No, well, they did pre-COVID. They had some like loaner chalk bags, but post-COVID, during COVID, it's crazy. Like they recommended using liquid chalk, or a lot of them, and it smells like Elmer's glue, and it's like this
Awesome.
goo, and you put it on your hand, you rub it in, and you wait for a while, and your hands turn like totally white, and it's like dried chalk on your hands. It's really cool. But they were doing that to keep all the particles out of the air,
Oh,
or to
wow.
minimize the particles in the air. Because if you're in the gym, you can kind of look, everything's got this like just kind of film of like chalk dust all over it.
Chalk.
Like even my laptop, I'm looking at it now, it was clean when I came in, and there's like all kinds of like, there's definitely some like little flakes of chalk in the air.
That's
But yeah, so
awesome.
yeah, so if to start out, shoes can cost you maybe like 80-100 bucks.
Oh,
um
wow.
but and I mean, the sky's the limit. They can go to like 200 bucks a pair, um but they last quite a while and they can get you there. So
What those shoes that used to have with the toes, would those be more appropriate so you can
no,
grip?
no, because a lot of climbing shoes, they kind of, they want your toes as close as possible to the holds. And so, and some of them even, like these ones have a little bit of a downturn. I don't know if you can see it, they're a little bit pointed down. And that helps like drive all the pushing force. It's way better to push like this than it is to
Then
push like that.
like that. Okay. That
So it
makes
kind
sense.
of helps your foot get that maximal push and all that force into the smallest area possible. So
Oh, so all right. I'm gonna start out as a novice climber. I'm gonna spend about $80. How often? You say it's like $20 a trip, or can you like buy a pass to all the gyms like you would like 24-hour fitness and you
yeah,
can
good. Yeah, good question. The cost. So if you just go for like a day pass, you want to try it out. It's usually, in San Diego, it's about 20 bucks or so for a day pass at most gyms. Some might be a little cheaper. But I do a monthly membership, and it's like 93 bucks a month, and you can come in and go as many times as you want. Which is, it's cheaper than a lot of yoga studios. There's also, most climbing gyms do have yoga included, because yoga and climbing kind of are good complementary exercises.
Really?
So yeah, so our climbing gym here has yoga classes, and um, that's, all included in your membership. A lot of gyms do that. Um, and so, and this gym has like full weights and, cardio machines and stuff like that too. So it's a full
Every
on gym.
day.
Yeah, you could
Oh,
go and work, you could
wow.
go and just work out. Um, and so yeah, here it's about 90, 93 bucks a month or something. The thing that sold me about this gym is, if you have an adult membership, your kids up until they turn age 11, it's free. It's included. So literally, I was like, okay, well, I'll buy a membership, and Josie is free until she turns 11. And so she had a membership, and it was just free with me. So I didn't need to pay any membership for her until she joined the after school climbing team, which was rad. A
You
lot of
could come
gyms have,
off.
yeah, she can come anytime she wants. Some gyms, there's a couple gyms in San Diego that, Vital, they're called. They're just bouldering, but they actually have like 24-hour access. So like, you as a member, you can just like scan your card and like come into the building at like 2 in the morning and do your climbing.
Austin.
So that's pretty cool. So Mesa Room, they have kind of standard gym business hours up, 6 to 10 type of thing, 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning till 10 at night.
They have
Um,
babysitting.
no babysitting, but a lot of people, a ton of people just bring, I see moms and dads like bring their kid in a little like car carrier, and they're like, while mom and dad are climbing, the kid's like strapped into the car carrier and just sitting there right next to them. And but it's, I mean, it's fun. Like there's little kids and toddlers that do climbing, and stuff like that on the short walls. And you think about kids that climb on everything anyway,
Anyway, right.
right? It's a super natural thing to do. Um, and yeah, and a lot of kids are just total beasts, and they're like,
Oh,
they're like,
go.
strength to weight ratio is just nuts. They're super light, and they can just like go up these things, and I'm like, you know 190, and I'm like, so
How young is too young for them to be climbing at one of these gyms? Is there an age restriction?
no, as long as you're there with your parents, like, and you're not, you're following being safe, and you got your parents with you, then you can climb. And they
Now,
have kid harnesses if you want to put them up on the ropes a little bit. Like, they have that for the kids. The harnesses are like full body harnesses, and they like attach right here. And so, but
I-
yeah, and they have smaller rope walls that are a little bit shorter and a little bit designed for more for kids in the setting of, how far apart the holds are. So, yeah, it's super kid friendly. Like, and they love just like playing around on the mats too. Like,
so as far as workout, muscle confusion, full body workout,
mhm.
and I mean you can do it daily.
Yeah.
Injuries are minimal.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest thing is like, if there's so many ways to do things differently with climbing. You can climb for endurance, and you can climb really easy stuff that's not hard muscularly, and just try and stay on the wall for 5 minutes. And they have it like they call it a circuit board, where you can just, they set the routes in circles, so you can just literally just do laps. And that's your endurance training, versus like climbing the hardest thing that you can possibly climb, and like doing that over and over as hard as you can. You do one or two of those like high intensity sessions, 1 or 2 of those a week is good. But you can also do like chill climbing, and like cut, and a lot of it's like, you come hang out with friends, and you like talk, and you climb a few things and support them and cheer them on. And so it can be as like chill or as hardcore as you want to do.
It. I mean, we love to live this way, just keeping the
Yeah.
body in motion.
Yeah.
And it seems pretty inexpensive if you really think about it.
Yeah.
All the amenities that are there at that particular gym,
Right.
if you just don't want to just climb, or you have two different types of climbing, and then you can go yoga and
Yeah.
workout. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that
And
is
like,
amazing.
on like, I climbed pretty hard last night at another gym with my partner, and so tonight Josie's here, but I don't have anything to do after, so I'll probably climb a little bit. There's new routes that I'm like, oh, I want to try those out. So I'll go try them out, but like I'm not going to go super hard. And there's different levels of climbs, different difficulties. So, you can climb stuff that's really easy for you and just do them a few times and just do the easy stuff and have fun climbing, just get your body moving. And that's what I do when I've climbed the night before, or if I had a hard session the day before. Um, then to kind of keep, and skin is another thing too, like because it wears down your skin and it builds up calluses. Just because the
Calluses,
holds,
right?
yeah, and just the holds are kind of rough too. So sometimes if you're climbing a lot and your skin's like, it's kind of like sandpaper. It's like nice fine sandpaper, a lot of them. So the amount of skin you have can definitely be a limiting factor. So a lot of climbers talk about like skincare, and they're really talking about like their hands and their hand skin. So that's the thing too. So if you climb really hard and your skin's worn down, you can climb pretty easy after that, while your skin builds back up. But yeah, it's just like when I started, I knew that my hands were going to be tired and my skin was going to be tired, because I'm a guitarist, so like I'm all about taking care of my hands and my fingers and stuff. So when I started, I literally went, 5 days in a row, and I went for like 15, 20 minutes, and that's it. I didn't like
Oh,
push
wow.
myself, just because I knew I wanted to get my hands used to it and my skin used to it and build up some calluses before I was like, oh, this is awesome, and spend 3 hours, and crushing it. And then the next day you can't move your hands, or you like, injure a tendon, or you like rip a callus open. And then you're like, oh, I can't climb for another week. And so for me, that's been the consistency thing is I don't go so hard that like I injure myself. Um, just because like I got nothing to prove. I want to do it for fitness, like, um, and that's what I do. So if I can go 3 to 5 days a week, I don't go insane every single one of those 3 to 5 days. Um, but I work out, I work hard, and it's a ton of fun.
So those are two things I want to touch on. You said to avoid injury. Do you have to warm up before you start climbing?
Yeah, warming up is key. And any pro climber or competition climber or anything, any coach, they'll tell you like warming up is the key, warming up is the key, warming up is the key to not getting injured. Especially with your smaller joints and tendons and connective tissue, because there's not as much blood flow as there is to like a large muscle. So you really got to get the blood flow happening so that they're like ready to go.
So
But
what is the warm up like then?
so really like warm-ups is like doing finger glides like that. And if you just do that and like reach all the way down and just push all the way up, like if you do that like 5 times, your hand's going to be tired. And so you like slide your finger all the way. So that kind of starts to warm your fingers up. And so like finger, but also, jumping jacks, doing a little bit of cardio, push-ups, pull-ups, if you
Just
can
to
do
get the blood
pull-ups.
flowing
Yeah, get the
and
blood
get the
flowing.
joints warmed up.
Yeah. And then they recommend like climbing some really easy things. 3 or 4 easy boulders, or 1 or 2 of the longer top rope ones that are really easy, um, just to get your hands and everything warmed up. But sometimes, I'll just kind of like do some stretches, some jumping jacks, um, and then warm up on the wall just by like climbing some easy climbs and doing them real slow and kind of stretching my body out in different positions as I climb. You can totally do that too.
That you had touched on it, but I want to know about competitions. Team, are there indoor climbing events like bowling? That's what I'm trying to get
Yeah.
to now. Could you go there like join a climbing team, and what are the competitions? What do they look like?
Yeah. So competitions. So the cool thing is this last Olympics in Japan was the first time that climbing was featured as an Olympic sport.
Oh, wow.
Competition climbing got a whole big marketing push of like, but there's a ton of competition climbing. There's international competition climbing. There's a channel on YouTube called IFSC. It's the International Federation of Sport Climbing. But if you're in the United States, you can watch all the World Cup climbing competitions. and it's a
It's
season.
indoor, not
Yeah,
outdoor.
indoor
It's
climbing, right? Yeah,
really
and so
same
it's a whole.
size wall,
So
15 feet, 20 feet.
yeah, so it's a whole different thing, and usually like so for finals, we'll say the climbing is they'll have like met 4 different boulders, and that's it, like one boulder problem on this chunk of wall, one on this other chunk of wall, and you have never seen these boulders before, so you're like in isolation, um, in an isolation room, so you don't, because if you watch somebody do it, you can figure out all the pieces of the puzzle. So they're in isolation, they come out, they have 4 minutes and as many tries as you want, 4 minutes to like get to the top of this boulder. And so, and if you can get all of them in the first try, then you're good and you're the best and you can win. But they make them hard so that um, if you have a bunch of tries but you get to the top of the boulder, the person who has fewer tries will win, will beat you. And so they do that, and then the rope climbing, the finals is like one long route, and whoever gets the highest in the shortest amount of time is the winner. And that's basically how the climbing competitions go in a nutshell. It's super fun. Like they're having some World Cup competitions in Salt Lake City in May. And so actually Josie and I are going to go take a trip out there to just go check out. This is going to be fun. It's like a fun weekend trip. And we're just going to go like watch some climbing competitions and be around some like total world-class Olympic athletes, which is great. The coolest thing here, like climbing gyms are, like I said, it was really egalitarian. Like we have some World Cup climbers and some Olympians that hang out in San Diego. So like I have some pictures of when Josie was here for her climbing class, and like literally like 10 feet away, Brooke Rabatou is one of our Olympic climbers, and they're like climbing on the same wall. I was like,
Wow.
what other sport does your kid get to like hang out and do their thing with an Olympian, like
Right.
just on a Thursday,
San Diego.
Right? Yeah, it's awesome. So, and climbing gyms are like that too. There's anywhere you go, any major city, you're going to have climbing gyms. And so kind of wherever people are, that's who comes in, that's where they go find a climbing gym. And that's where they train. And
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty awesome. And you'll see some of these competition climbing. It's all over YouTube, and you can just look up climbing competitions, and they just do some amazing things. These people are just nuts. How strong they are and how controlled they are with their body, how flexible they are. Because flexibility is a huge part of climbing too. Like, if I'm here and there's a foothold way up here, I got to get my foot up to there, and moving your body in different positions and finding balance and strength so you can reach up to the next thing.
Wow.
It's super fun. It's super complex, but it can also be really simple. Like, hey, go climb up that wall. I mean, that's the gist of it. But when you get into all the techniques, it's really fascinating.
You know what? This has been an illuminating conversation, because the only 2 prevalent climbers that I ever remember was James T. Kirk in a movie, and then a long time ago, back in the Marines, on exercise the 49 palms, and one of the kids on Liberty got drunk climbing a Joshua tree and broke his face like in 10 different places. Yeah.
Oh man.
So this is something that's very foreign to me.
Yeah. And outdoor climbing's like it's the same activity, but a very different animal, because you need pads, and like you buy pads that you can fall on. You got to bring them with you, so they make pads. It's kind of like a mattress. You just like strap on your back and you go out to the rock, and that way if you fall, you have something soft to land on. Or you use ropes,
so there is safety equipment to do that outside.
Yes, there's like actual safety equipment, but it's still like it's way more risk climbing outdoors than it is in a controlled environment like this.
Yeah. Rocks.
Yeah, right? I call them wild rocks, out in the wild.
So overall, how long you been climbing?
So we started this adventure. I signed up here at Mesa Rim December 1st, 2019. So I had like 2 months of like getting into this thing, and then everything shut down. So I built a little climbing wall in my backyard for me and Josie to train on. It's awesome, and it's like pink. It's like 8 feet tall, and we bought a bunch of holds, and like we did that during COVID. Climbed it a little bit outside, um, but I was just starting out, so like and I wasn't in as good a shape as I am now. So climbing outdoors can be intimidating if you're not in the greatest physical shape. There's some people that come in that are just like yoked, and like they can do, their bodies can like pull up, they can do like 10, 20 pull-ups, and like their bodies can do some of the stuff that I struggle with still. Um, but I've learned a lot of technique in the past couple of years, and that's super helpful. And I still like, I'm short and round still, and so I do get a little bit of pleasure when I see some like totally like buff yoked guy like come in and not be able to like climb one of the things that I climbed yesterday. So
That's
that's like a
awesome.
lovely, and I feel good about it. He doesn't know anything different, and I just feel great about it. So uh,
That, that is awesome.
yeah,
That is awesome. So the wall is the great equalizer.
it's hard. It totally is, and it's funny they call them problems because it's like a math problem sometimes, or a puzzle, and sometimes you're like trying this thing, and the greatest thing you can do is just like sit and watch other people climb, because they'll be like they'll move their body in a different way and grab the hold in a different way, and you're like, oh, that's how you do it, and then it's easy. you know um it can really like, it's like sometimes there's like one piece of it that's hard, they call it the crux of a climb, and if you can like unlock that, then you can do the rest of it. But it's a ton of fun. It's mentally challenging just as much as physically challenging. It's really physically challenging, and a lot of people just don't have the strength in their forearms or their hands, and when you start climbing, that's what you do most, because that's kind of scary the first time, so you're like, oh god, and you're like squeezing as hard as you can because you don't want to fall, and it's kind of scary, and then that just makes your hands like jelly. um, and then when you learn to like use your feet more and move your body more, so you're not having to hold on with so much arm and upper body strength, then it becomes a lot more fun and not just really hard.
Always trying to muscle it.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, so
So
starting out is pretty hard, but if you want a challenge, you can stick through it for a while. It's totally worth it, super fun. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good people.
okay. So that is something that I'm gonna put on my list. You've already challenged me to do that. I
Yeah,
am
man,
gonna come out and I'm gonna try it.
we get a guest
Um,
pass every month, so we can hook you up, get you in here.
yeah, you know I'm all about the free.
Right, yes, we got you.
All about the free. Oh my gosh, Jason. This has been another double whammy. You are a wonderful friend of mine. I love you so
I
much.
love you too, man.
Thank you very much for, spending time and just opening my eyes to other ways that I can get my body in motion. And sharing for our viewers, because I mean, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are kind of thinking about how difficult it is, but how inclusive it is,
Yeah,
and how challenging it can be, and what a workout, you know.
yeah, and one of the things like in our gym, like there's people of all sizes and shapes that come in, and there's sometimes when you go to other gyms or you try and get into other activities, it's like it's super intimidating where you're like, oh geez, like I'm the biggest kid here. um but in this community, at least, I found a lot of people just like cheering you on and being like, yeah, great effort on that one, like that's awesome. And just a lot of encouragement. So try it with a friend, or go and meet somebody new at the climbing gym. um, a lot of people just like that you're out there climbing, and if you're bigger and start out bigger like I did, um, don't be afraid, go with a friend and try it out. It's a ton of fun, and like falling is part of it. So if you can go for like, if it takes you 5 minutes to get to the top of one route, like that's cool. Like, next time you'll be doing it in 4 minutes. And you'll learn quick, and you'll move forward quickly, and people are really happy to help you out.
So I always ask my guests if there's one piece of advice you'd like to give our "We Love to Live This Way" community,
Yeah.
whether it be spiritual, any kind of motivation, what would you want? What is that one piece of advice you want to impart?
You know, I think I was talking about kind of being intimidated and feeling out of place in places, and I think one of the things in the climbing gym is like people aren't as conscious of you as you are of yourself. Like you can walk into a gym and be self-conscious, and there's people that are like staring at the wall, like trying to figure out what to do next. And if they're watching you climb, they might be watching you to figure out how to do the climb. So people aren't as focused on your whatever shortcomings you think you have. People are nowhere near as focused on that as you are. And just take it from them and be supportive of yourself and try something new. The worst thing that can happen is that's really hard and I don't want to do that again. Okay, that's fine. You still, got your body moving, had fun a little bit, maybe. And yeah, just try it. Try anything and stick with it for a while and see how it goes.
That's it. A lot of people, fear is just not knowing what's on the other side of the berm.
Yeah.
And most of the time, to get people mentally to the other side so they can try things are words of wisdom and comfort, just like that. And I do appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, and if you fall, you fall. You meant to fall.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just go enjoy yourself. And
Yeah.
that's something we can all out in life. Now, thank you very much, wholeheartedly, for joining me. And then we're gonna have to do this in real life real
Yes.
soon. Don't hold me to this.
All right.
In your
Yeah, you're breaking up
almost
time,
an
but
hour.
yeah.
We're-
Yeah.
we're-
Well, my daughter is, let's see. I'm gonna see if I can find her. She's out like down on one of these walls somewhere. I don't know where she is, but she's in one of those blue shirts. But so she's in there
okay,
with her
that's the
coach.
team.
She's in there with the coach somewhere, like doing her thing. And you know, so it's a ton of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, brother. I
All right.
love you. Thank
Great
you
to see you,
very
man.
much.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you next time here. And everybody out there, remember, stay the course.
Stay the course, have fun, and try something new.
Something new. Thanks, brother.